that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed him.
Meow. Meow. Meow.
So this is what we're talking about the gaslighting and about the Trump, right? This is it. We heard day one, you were going to get the Epstein files. You were going to know who was in the black book. You were going to know who the contacts were. The American people deserve to know. Dan Bongino, how many episodes did Dan Bongino do talking about how the American people deserve to know what happened in the Epstein trial? To me, it wasn't really a hot button issue for me because I was like, this whole thing looks insane to me. I'm like, either Jeffrey Epstein is being used as a scapegoat and a gaslighting and something to infuriate their base and get voters, or there was a huge scandal here and it's being covered up. And so now Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, in my opinion, have fell into those two categories. Either they're using the Epstein to gaslight the public, or they used it, excuse me, they're admitting that they used Epstein to gaslight the public, or they're helping to cover up whatever happened with Jeffrey Epstein. So they do this interview with Maria Bartiromo, right, on Fox. And it's talking point after talking point, and it's pure gaslighting. I just want to play this first before we talk about this. Let's get your thoughts after the video.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work. You said.
What do you think about that clip? Because these are two guys that, by the way, I've seen them speak on podcasts and media. I've seen them do sit-down interviews. Came off very confident to me. Now they're telling you, no, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Trust me, bro. I seen it. It's like, no. You said the American people should see it. So why don't you show us what you saw? Trust me, bro. This is the Trust Me, Bro segment. What do you think about this?
Yeah, this is the most subdued I've seen both of these two guys, you know? We've seen videos of Kash Patel basically swatting down senators, you know, in front of Congress, you know? And here they are, both seem like, you know, we thought these guys were like lions, you know? And here they are, they're like puppies in front of this media. And it's just, to me, like I watch this and I'm thinking, what did they do? Is this a humiliation ritual, you know? Why are they saying this? You know, even if right, all the evidence they have points to this, that he killed himself. Right, there is so many questions here that any reasonable person would think to themselves, you know, there's so many questions here. The public isn't going to believe this. You know, the public isn't going to believe this. There's been so much incompetence in this. That it's incompetence to the point where it's like, you think to yourself, they couldn't be that dumb, you know? Look at the nonsense with those portfolios, all those social media personalities that were at the White House with portfolios that's an Epstein list on it. It's like, well, you know, this was something that's before they got into the office, they promised us the Epstein list on day one, and instead of day one, we've gotten like Dog and Pony Show and all these issues that have come up with that appear like the government's dragging their feet. You know, why would you say this when you know the public is already frustrated with the way that's gone? It doesn't make any sense to me. You know,
so basically, you know, I was like at a loss for words when I saw that. I was like, I saw Benny Johnson. He's reporting on the golden age of America, right? And what he did is he just did clip after clip after clip of them just showing more talking points to try to distract you off of the Epstein thing. Again, it wasn't big for me, but it was big for the Bongino fan base because that's what he talked about. I mean, that was the main thing he talked about. He talked about FBI corruption. He talked about this Epstein case. He said that the American people deserve to know. I mean, here it's clear as day. You want to know if what happened? Here are the files. Based upon what I'm reading, he killed himself. Here are the files for your review. I told you that the American people should be able to see that. But today, now Dan Bongino is totally different from Dan Bongino when he was on his podcast. He's a completely different individual, and he's saying, well, I saw the files. Just trust me because it's me. It's Dan. It's Dan, you know? Even though I told you don't trust the FBI and don't trust your federal government and you want to trust but verify, even though I told you all those things, now I'm going to just say, let's move past the Epstein. You're never getting those files. He killed himself. Let's talk about something else now. Trust me, bro. He killed himself. That's what I heard. I mean, and to me, it was like, I'm like, you know what the equivalent of watching this is? Kash Patel and Dan Bongino do this. It was like, it would be the equivalent. And because this is exactly what happened, by the way, because they've promoted people that were in charge of all the actions that they were complaining about on January 6th. They've promoted people about all the things they were complaining about the denial of religious rights inside of the FBI, promoted all those people. They promoted the people that were going after churches and going after school boards. So it's literally the equivalent of myself, Eric Dim, Marlon Bethel, Sal Greco, now being put in charge of the NYPD. And instead of terminating all of the people that we've been talking about, instead of saying, you're out of here, you're gone, bye. It's like, no. They're all right, bro. Trust me, bro. I looked at everything. They're all right, bro. Everything's good. Everything's happening here. And now we just become a fanboy account for the NYPD. And the NYPD is operating exactly the same as it was when we were doing the podcast.
Yeah. I thought we were getting like with Kash and Dan Bongino. I thought we were getting like I thought we had just bought like a 1969 Charger with a V8, powerful V8 engine in there, you know. And here we are with what are we seeing here? A 4-cylinder Toyota Corolla, you know. You
got an electric golf cart, bro.
Yeah.
You got an electric golf cart, bro. That's what you got.
When you see stuff like that, you think, oh man, this guy. Was all of that just an act that he was putting up?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I see. I see the total Dan Bongino's complete actor. He never really was a cop. He wasn't a Secret Service agent that long. He wasn't all those things. He pretended to be one on TV. And when he got the opportunity to do all the things he talked about, he didn't do it. Kevin Mannion says it would be the equivalent of you making Kaz the first step for chief of department. No, it would be the equivalent of me making Kaz the police commissioner. Like, no. It's good, bro. Trust me, bro. He's qualified. He's good. I was wrong about those other things. Don't worry about that. I was wrong about all that stuff. You know, 100% would be that equivalent, you know? And then they just go on in the interview to like, all right, let's talk about something else now. Trust me, bro. And it's like point after point. Here's another one. So this is work of Sam Mantar. Like, you know, this is what I'm talking about.
Well, the other issue that's been talked about recently is this mortgage fraud. And the FBI opening a formal case against Letitia James.
So again, ongoing cases, and we take our ongoing investigations very seriously because we don't want to do what our predecessors did, which is talk about them ad infinitum in the public and then nothing happens. This case, I can tell you, is being handled by our professional pros who are subject matter experts reporting directly to headquarters, which reports to Dan and I. This case, along with others, because it is a case of great public importance. And unlike other leaders who previously sat in these seats, we don't prejudge any case. We don't care what party elected you to what. It doesn't matter to us. It's irrelevant. If you broke the law, we are going to find out and we are going to investigate you. And then we are going to discuss that matter with the Department of Justice. And this is one of the things that, if your viewers take away nothing else from this interview, the FBI does not make prosecutorial decisions. You asked in the beginning how the FBI was weaponized. Well, the FBI hijacked the constitutional responsibility of the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, and James Comey and others specifically decided what cases to prosecute and not prosecute. Don't believe me? Go to the videotape in the Hillary Clinton investigation. We don't decide prosecutions, and neither does any agent or intel analyst. We have great partners under General Bondi. We work with them and discuss the matter with them, but the prosecutorial decision is with them.
So is there a directive now to focus on fighting real crime?
So again, another, let's get off the Epstein. Let's talk about what's happening with Letitia James. And I find it very funny that they're like, no, just so you know. And by the way, they're 100% correct. Just like the NYPD, the FBI does not prosecute cases. They present cases to the Department of Justice, like the Eric Adams case, that several people lost their careers because they're like, I'm not signing off that I did anything wrong when this guy broke the law. You know, I'm not signing off on that. And the DOJ dropped charges. So he's basically putting the onus, hey, if this case doesn't go anywhere, it's not on us. It's on the DOJ. That's what I heard. Did you hear anything different than that?
I heard exactly that. He's throwing cold water on the situation already, and it's like he's already preparing for a soft landing, you know. And it's why is he saying that is a question, and it's absurd that he is.
Yeah, I was like, you know, BK Sal Crook says, was Trump in the black book? Why else would Kash and Dan lie to the public? My opinion. I mean, listen, he was on the flight logs, you know, he was on the flight logs with his family. So, you know, in the black book, even if he was in the black book, does that necessarily mean anything? Does that necessarily mean that, does that know that you knew something illegal was done? You could know that he was a deviant. You know, we've been saying it. We've been watching, check out Laura Conlin on X. She's been following the Diddy trial. She does great work, investigative reporter, true crime reporter, celebrity reporter. So she's been at the trial every day. She's been reporting on her X account what's been happening. And I mean, it's clear to me that everyone that knew Sean Combs was a sexual deviant. Does that mean that they knew he was committing crimes? Does that mean that they knew that he was abusive to women? Does that mean that they participated in it? No, but they knew it. You know, they knew it. I mean, so again, we're talking about the suicide. We're talking about one case completely uninvolved. Trump's completely uninvolved in that. It's the suicide. They're saying that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, but not showing you any of the data that they were saying that you were going to see on day one. And so that's my issue with it. They're covering up. I don't think they're covering for Trump here. I think they're covering for a corrupt system. That's what it looks like to me. Because, you know, when I watched that clip, I'm like, yeah, those don't look like the same two guys I know. Those don't look like the same two guys I watched. They look pretty confident prior. They look like they just seen a ghost. You know, and now, hey, let's give me some more. Trust me, bro. We're doing everything we could do on the Letitia James investigation, but then we're going to give it to the DOJ, and then that's it. You know, I'm wiping my hands clean of that after.
Yeah. So for you guys in chat and for you listeners, if you don't already know, there's been plenty of talk of Epstein connected to a global intelligence network, and in particular the Five Eyes intelligence, which is the Western intelligence agencies. And that basically he ran a honeypot, which is like a sexual extortion ring, you know, and basically a sexual blackmail ring. And there's so much smoke in that area that it's hard for any one reasonable person to completely ignore that, you know. And also keep in mind that Ghislaine Maxwell, her father now, Robert Maxwell, also did the same thing, and he was also killed under very shady circumstances, you know. And if you dig into his connections, there's a lot of connections between him and Wall Street, and in particular Bain Bain and Company, which is Mitt Romney's hedge fund. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's connections between Epstein, what he did, and the intelligence agencies, and the fact that government keeps trying to brush it off, and this administration now is seemingly taking their turn at it, is a problem, because there's so much smoke out there that most people in America now agree with those connections, that those connections exist. And the further along this administration goes in protecting it and into covering it up, is just digging a deeper hole for them. You know, you're in such a situation where you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So the more you try to do it, is the more unethical your behavior appears to be. And as we've talked about on this podcast, what's happening with the Adams administration is they're using unethical practices now to cover up on their past malfeasance, because they know they've gotten themselves in a hole, and they don't want to come out and just clear the situation. They continually digging a deeper hole for themselves, you know, and that's what the Trump administration is also doing by covering this up. It's just a whole lot easier at this point to let it all go and to release it and to get the truth out there than to continuing unethical practices that will ultimately hurt Trump's agenda.
I agree with you 100%. IMP Franco says, with that being said, John, it looks like they're trying to let everyone see the whole system is corrupt, which would cause the system to crumble, which is exactly what Marlon just said. So let's just break that down real quick. Let's just break that down. You find out, you step in, they put us in charge of the NYPD. We find out that the NYPD is doing, this is hypothetically speaking, so don't clip this out. And if you do, we're going to have the tape to put it out. It's we find out that the NYPD is doing hits, pay for play murder, right? Let's just give that hypothetical. And we get into the system and we find out exactly that that's what's happening. And instead of arresting the people and removing them from the system, what we do is we bring the lime with us and the shovels, and we go out to upstate New York and we start burying the bodies. No, we can't let anyone see what's going on. It's too bad. It's too bad. We can't fix this. It can't be fixed. I'm not buying it. I'm saying it takes great courage and great moral integrity to go in and fix systems. These two guys said they were going to go into a system and fundamentally change it. And instead, it looks like they want to go into a system and be friends with everybody in that system. And they want to be good supervisors, and they're running cover for that system. I'm not saying it's as corrupt as that. I don't know, but there are definitely issues within the system. And they want to be good supervisors, and they're running cover for that system. I'm not saying it's as corrupt as that. I don't know, but there are definitely issues within the system, same as there are issues within the NYPD.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.